You're listening to Soul Sexy with Bridgetta and Charles, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, everyone out there. I'm in the studio, and Charles is right here on the phone.
Hello. From San Diego.
He is in sunny San Diego, and I am in not so sunny. No, it's sunny here. La La Land in studio. It's kind of weird to be like talking to you through the computer. It's weird. It's like
technology.
I know.
And I got all dressed up for the show and everything.
Did you? Did you wear a button down?
Yeah.
You did.
I'm looking sharp. So you can use your imagination.
I'm so glad that you are, at least. So we have like an awesome guest that's going to be on in just a moment. Her name is Jeanie Cisco-Meth. I'm super excited to have her on the show. But let's talk about, like, it's been a little bit since we've like been on air together because you went away to Peru. Tell us quickly about like how that was.
Oh my gosh, Peru is amazing. I love that country. The energy there is incredible. Like you just get in and the landscapes, the way they lay out the city in Lima, it's gorgeous. They have all these parks and like outside gyms that you can do pull-ups on and like ellipticals and stuff all along the coastline. So it's very family oriented, and it's just beautiful. We just hop on bikes and explore the whole and eat and drink our way through Lima.
Sounds like a very like right up your alley. Like the beach, the gym on the beach sounds amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, and we got to take care of some business there too. So my beloved has a whole clothing line that she helps employ women there, locals, and they get to this branches out and they get to help tons of families with making these goddess capes that are incredible. So we got a huge shipment of those and got them all the way to New York. So
wonderful.
It was quite a trip.
Very, very cool. I love it. I love when you can mix business with pleasure in that way. That's amazing. Well, I'm glad you had a wonderful time. And and welcome back to the show. And in spirit, because you're not sitting next to me and that feels weird. But
I know, it's
that's
weird.
okay. There's next week. But yeah, that's actually a cool segue. Our guest is actually on the line right now, and I'm stoked to have her on. Jeanie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So I'm so glad to have you on. You are, like, as the tagline says, America's best known behavior analyst, an authority on bullying, and an author of the best-selling book, Bully Proofing You. And I'm super excited to have you on the show because this topic has come up in my life in many different ways, and also being like a woman boss in like how to navigate through that, because I've definitely had some ups and downs of how to be a powerful woman in this man's world, as they say, and especially with like so many women in power rising up these days, what that looks like in the workplace and in general in relationships too. So I'm stoked to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be on. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about like the Bully Proofing You, like what inspired you to write this book? And obviously there's a story behind it. So I'd love to know your story of of that.
There is a story, right? There's always a story behind the story.
Yes.
And as a young kid, I was bullied so much. I am different. First of all, I'm 6 foot tall, and I was 6 foot tall by the 8th grade.
Wow.
And so I was a big target, literally. But I also had a lot of learning disabilities, and I was told in elementary school that I was too stupid to make it through high school. And it hurt, but it was also, looking back on it now as an adult, and all the learning disabilities taught me some incredible things, and it helped me build the the muscles that I needed for the struggles in my life. And I decided, you don't decide where I go and what I do, I decide. And so I decided to become a high school teacher because of my learning disabilities. I'm like, man, I can help others. You know, I've been a mess. I can take my mess and help others.
Love it.
And so, yeah, so I was a high school teacher for 17 years, and that's where you know, this message was honed and perfected, was working with alternative high students and helping them navigate struggles, and so that's a little bit of the story behind the story.
I love it. I love it. And I don't know about you, Charles, but I definitely was bullied as a child as well, big time. To what it changed me later in life was I would bully the bullies. So and I would enter into any argument that I saw someone having, if it looked like they were being bullied, whether they were really in reality or not. If I thought they were, then I would like enter in Bridgetta, you know, like, and it worked. It worked for a while until it didn't. And then I got in a lot of trouble actually through that. It was a big wake up call for me. So bullying is huge for me, and yeah, it means so much, like dear to my heart, because of what I've experienced and what I see others experience. So I think it's amazing that you took your experience and you wrote a book about it for the positive. So thank you, first of all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Jeanie, I love how you took your mess and turn it into your message.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Yep.
That's good. That's good. I think like that's a tagline there that you should use.
You can use that.
Yeah. Good. Charles gives you permission.
You can have a message because you got a mess.
That's right. That's right. So I'm fascinated. When I think of bullying, I think of, you know, the kids that are causing trouble and picking on the little kids in school and stuff. And you know, I've had to split up my fair share of fights in elementary school, middle school, all that, and even high school. And it's amazing how it's incredible how that impacts people throughout the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you know, it can take a lifetime to unpeel these layers. These you know, it can be trauma that we encountered, or it can be cause these insecurities that are we have to peel away throughout the rest of our lives. And what is it pretty common in the workplace too, as adults? A lot of bullying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is that it's not just on the playground anymore. You know, bullying is everywhere. And my perspective is hurt people hurt people. Yes. And that, you know, a bully is hurting because they're hurting. And so the first part of the book is all about improving your confidence and your belief in yourself. Because many times the reason the bully's words hurt so bad is because you've already said them to yourself so many times and they're validating it.
Wow.
And so then the second part is all about why people bully, and it hurt people. And if you can remember that, you know, when somebody is lashing out at you and you can say, I'm sorry, how can I help? It immediately shifts the whole thing. And I don't like the message of, you know, carry a bigger stick or give as good as you get. That is not what I'm about at all. There's way too much of that going on right now. And way too many people dying, you know, and it has to stop.
I'm actually really glad that you touched. Sorry. I was going to say, I'm actually really glad that you touch on that, because I grew up with an Italian East Coast father who was like, if they throw a rock, you throw three, you know, and like that was in my head and I was bullied by my father a lot when I was younger too. So like that stuff at home is what carried into school, and I was very timid. So I got bullied myself because I was so quiet. And one day I stood up to someone and you know, finally. And then my dad was like, yes, that's amazing. And so then I was like, well, maybe I need to listen to him. And so like I realized you throw an eye for an eye is the Italian way. And like that's what you were taught so much. And it took years of unprogramming that. Into being like where I'm at now. Like I don't like conflict. I like to avoid conflict as much as possible. And it's like fascinating. Like I'll shut down, you know, like I say what I'll have to say, but I usually just like, I'm out of here, you know, is what I went through for a while. And now being able to speak to it, exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Like, what can I do? Or, and that's like been the conscious communication has been something I've took a long time to learn. So anyway, go ahead, Charles. What were you going to ask?
I'm curious. So when someone is getting bullied, what's a good way to handle that? You mentioned saying you're sorry. Can I help you? Is that an effective way?
Yeah. It depends on the situation, and the third part of my book is all about how to handle it. And the best way is to ask a question. Hey, what time, and most of the scenarios are for school because it was written, for parents to help their kids or for teens. But it's, hey, what's your favorite lunch, or what time is lunch, or what's your favorite color, or what time did you get to work if it's in the workplace? Because we are trained to answer questions. And when somebody is bullying, it's because they're in their reptilian brain. They're totally reactive. They're not thinking. But when you ask a question, it moves them into their higher brain, and they have to process. And so it absolutely interrupts. It's like NLP. It interrupts the programming and stops immediately, and because they have to answer a question. And we do an exercise in our live events where for 2 minutes you'll partner up, and all you can do is ask questions, and the other person has to try to not answer. And it's hilarious.
Oh, wow.
Because we're raised to answer questions. And so that way, when you ask that question, the bully and you both save face. Nobody's hurt. Nobody's attacked. It's totally diffused, and you can just go on.
That's actually really amazing. Thank you for saying that, because we both love NLP, and I'm speaking for you, Charles. I don't know if you do, but I love NLP.
Yep.
And we're all for that. And it's like, I love learning that fact. I didn't even think about it. Like, that would make such sense. And now I'm going to try that next time this ever comes up. Thank you. Like, that's huge. So like, in the workplace, and especially with what's going on now, how do you feel about how women are showing up in the workplace, and then how men are showing up these days?
So there's a couple of things that are going on in the workplace. One is women have become very hard and tough. I was in the military for 8 years, so I feel very qualified.
Okay.
I was in the Army.
Got it.
And so, you have these women trying to be men in the men's environment, and it's not working. It's just not working. Women, and I can't believe, that I've gotten to this place in my life, because I was the first one when I was in the military. I can do anything, you can do better.
I can do anything, you can do better.
Totally that way. But I'm realizing men and women are built differently. And when a woman is in her feminine energy, and I'm not saying weak. Feminine energy is not weak. Feminine energy commands space, and it creates. Whereas male energy is go out, hunt it down, drag it back home. And so what happens is you have these women in this male energy of, this masculine energy of go out, hunt it, and bring it back. And we're losing the connection of the creation and the bringing together of a community. And so that's, in my opinion, part of the reason we're having so much difficulties in workspace is because we don't have that feminine come together, let's build a community, let's work together part to temper the masculine energy.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And it's fascinating, because it's like nowadays, I think now is the first time in history, really, that so many women are becoming executives and entrepreneurs and rising up in the workplace. And it's like, for so long, it's been such a man's world. And it's like, exactly like, how do they handle that? And in many situations, like, for me, it's been fine. But in other situations, I've definitely felt in a way like inferior, which is, I know is silly, because I'm a pretty confident person and I'm on my game. But if I start being questioned, or I feel like it's all men and they're questioning what I have to say, then I start to feel like, okay, like it just gets awkward. It's been interesting, like, how to step in my power completely in such a man's world. And I feel like so many women executives go through that. Anyway. So, yeah.
Well, and the biggest thing is accepting you at your core for who you are. You have masculine energy in you, you have feminine energy in you, and when you 100% accept who you are, it doesn't matter what someone else says. You can see when emotion is high, intelligence is low. And so when someone is questioning you and you start getting emotional or you start getting, agitated, your intelligence level starts dropping because your brain can't process unless you've trained it how to process, which is also in my book. But when you train it how to continue to think, even when you're in an emotional state, then you can absolutely stand in your power, but not be defensive or aggressive and attack someone else. You can just stand there and be the rock.
I love this. I literally got into of course this happens, the synchronicities, Charles. But I literally got into a conversation earlier about this. It was a client of mine who was here for some shows earlier, and we were talking about standing in your power and what that looks like. And I had said something where when I was younger, when I was in my power, I felt that anger came with the power. And it's like, why did I feel that? Where did that come from? Okay, because my dad was an example. I looked at him as powerful and he had a lot of anger. So I emulated that. And still to this day, it's like I can feel very in my power in my business. And then there's times I get thrown off and it's like, well, why am I not fully in my power? Because I still associate anger with power and I don't want to have any of those anger feelings. So how to disassociate that or break that apart? What tools could you offer for myself or for anyone else that may still have feelings attached to being in their power?
Yeah, beautiful. So many times we're told different emotions are wrong. So it doesn't matter what emotion it is, whether it's anger or it's sadness or whatever. And so we push those emotions down. So the best tool to start getting those emotions back out is to do what I call up, out, and away. And so I write down my feelings. I start with, I feel angry because, or I feel hurt because, or I feel sad because. And I just write. And then I take that paper and I burn it because I want to get a hold of those emotions and get them up out of me and then away from me so that I can deal with it. It peels off the emotion of that yuck berry so I can think. I call it a yuck berry because we have a pain that's in the inside. And then like a pearl, we wrap emotion around it. And so anytime that is pushed, we're triggered.
Yes.
And so if I can get that emotion separated from the incident that happened, it's no longer a trigger and I'm no longer triggered or fired up when it happens. And so there is a space for anger. There's a space for all emotions, so you need to feel them all.
Feel the full spectrum.
Yes.
Exactly.
That which we
see the whole rainbow, feel the whole spectrum.
that which we try to resist ends up persisting.
Truth.
And it becomes issues in our tissues.
Yes, I talk about issues. We both talk about issues in our tissues all the time. I love that. You're right. You're totally right. Absolutely. Well, this is so fascinating, and I do love how synchronistic this is because literally this was a conversation earlier today, and I didn't even put the two and two together until now. So also what is, and I feel like when a woman could be in their power, let's say, and I don't want to come across too bitchy, if that makes a sense, or bossy.
Right, yeah.
So how would you still be in your power but not come across being too bitchy or being too bossy? Because I feel like when women are in their power, we are told sometimes, well, you're just boss. I mean, I used to get all the time when I was younger, you're just bossy. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yes, I am. Go sit over there and shut up. No, I don't say that, but you know what I mean. But I feel like men can also be like, well, that person's really bitchy. It can come across either way. How could you still be in your power, but have it bring into it in a feminine way?
So the beautiful thing about that is when someone is blamed of being bitchy or bossy or whatever, you just bring it back to the issue. You bring it back to, well, thank you for your opinion. I appreciate that. But the question was, right, or the situation is, and, when you tell somebody thank you so much for your opinion and you're sincere about it, it's not flippant in their face, hey, thank you for your opinion. Thank you for sharing that with me. Now I know where you stand. But if you remember, we were talking about such and such, and just keep bringing it back. I have an ex-husband who taught me that skill very, very well, because he was constantly getting in my face.
Oh, wow.
And I had to learn how to communicate with him in a good way. And so he would start yelling and screaming and hollering at me, and I would say, thank you so much for showing me how upset you are. But the question is, what do you want? A lot of times it would be, what do you want for dinner? Or, where are you headed? Why are you leaving? Or, things like that. And so when you bring it back and you stay calm, sometimes the other person will escalate and you just stay calm. That's why it's so important for you to do those writings, to get your emotions, to manage your emotions, so that when the person next to you is freaking out, you can stay calm. I'm writing a new book. It's called Taming the Bully Between Your Ears. Ooh. And it's all about staying calm when everybody around you is freaking out.
I love this. Yeah. And it's interesting to see how far we've come when we're put into those situations for real. And it's funny you say that. It's amazing to see how I used to be very reactive, and I'm emotional, just being. And I try not to be emotional, although it just comes out anyway. And it was really cool, being in a couple months ago, my family had come to visit, and some things had happened, and it was so interesting seeing the chaos go around me when everyone's screaming at each other, and I'm the one sitting there being the calm one, okay, so I'm hearing that and I'm seeing that, and it was so fascinating for me to look at that and be wow, I'm not in the chaos anymore. I'm out of it, and I'm trying to navigate them. It was actually beautiful. So I'm loving that these tools that you have, because it's also reminding me these are great for anyone else that is listening that is also emotional, or that has these emotions come up, especially women at that time of the month. We tend to get more emotional as well. And I think it'd be great for and during full moons, writing, getting it all out. And I'm a big advocate on ritual. So I do it on the full moon. Why wouldn't I do it when I feel crazy emotions come up? What a cool tool to have. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do my negative emotions on the odd days, and then I do my positive emotions on the even days. Ooh. So I'm happy because I'm excited, because I feel abundant because. And so by managing both of those, the happy, the gratitude, and getting rid of the negative, I manage my emotions. My emotions don't manage me.
I love this. And so with the positives,
so powerful.
Oh, sorry. With the positives, do you keep them in their book still so you can look at them, or do you burn those as well?
The positive I keep. I have two separate journals. Oh, okay. The negative one is just a spiral-bound notebook that I tear out and burn. And then I have I call it my color journal, or my positive journal, and I keep that one. And many times I'll go back. There are days when I am on top of my game and I'm feeling just, wow, this is amazing. I just spoke to, 1,500 people or whatever. I just signed my first international contract. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to go to Ireland in June. Yay. And it's just amazing. And then there are days when I'm like, what am I doing? This is a wreck. And so I go back to my positive journal and I look at those times when, and it helps me. It helps me tame the bully between my ears and keep moving forward and sharing my message.
I love that. And so when you are in the workplace, let's say, and you have a boss that could be micromanaging or super bossy boss, what is a way that, you could navigate through that?
Beautiful question. One thing that I do is when somebody is reacting in front of me in a way that I consider odd, I ask the question, why would a reasonable, rational person behave this way? Because it helps me understand the pain that they're in. Because somebody who is behaving reasonably and rationally would not be attacking someone else. They would not be doing the horrendous things that, just happened yesterday. That's not a reasonable, rational person. And so when you ask the question, why would a reasonable, rational person behave this way, it causes you to think outside the box and look at what they're going through and how you can help, and it helps you understand them more.
Got it.
Wow, I love that. That's adding compassion to their fire that they're trying to douse you with.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about pointing out when emotion is high, then intelligence is low. You know, we've all witnessed that in any heated battles. You know, if someone's coming at you with anger and then they manage to trigger you, and then you come back at them, and then it becomes this yelling war, and then there's actually no productive communication going on at that point. You know, it's like both parties are so heated in the moment, emotional, that there's not a lot of, you know, compassion usually, or it's really hard to find the common ground in that state. So being the eye of the storm, as I call it, you know, when you can witness someone else and their emotions and have compassion for that is really powerful for defusing a lot of those situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about when someone is just plain narcissist? How do you deal with the narcissism part? Because I've definitely run into that before, and as I know many other listeners have had that experience as well.
So there are people in my life that I have invited to leave. And there are people in my life that I hang out with, you know. And so, but I am still me. I'm still me. You know, and I still have my thoughts and my beliefs, and I enjoy people who have different ideas than me, because it gives me a glimpse of other possibilities.
Okay.
But when I'm dealing with somebody who is, you know, certifiable, or, you know, however you want to phrase that, you know, then they need help. But me yelling at them, or me getting angry at them, or me being triggered by them does not help them, and it certainly doesn't help me.
I feel like it feeds them.
So
Yeah. Especially like narcissists. Like if you get mad or triggered, they like love that in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Because that gives them power. But if I maintain my power, they don't get it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, if you give them the reaction they want, then that's what they're seeking. It's like, oh, you have that in you too. So I'm curious, what can we tell about our triggers when someone is bullying us, or you know, someone's getting bossy with you? What do our triggers say? Like when that really gets to us, you know, that's a lot about trigger. Emotion.
Yeah, it's a lot about your past hurts. You know, because somebody says something to you, and so somebody says something to me. It's my responsibility as the receiver of that message to clarify what the person meant. I'll give you an example. I was my daughter. I said something to my daughter, and I don't remember what it was, but I saw the look on her face, and I knew that she didn't understand what I had said, that it hurt her. She was just devastated. I'm like, whoa, okay, we need to clear this up, because what I said is not what you heard. And I said, you heard something that hurt you, but it was not sent that way in any way, shape, or form. And so by me being calm and seeing her triggered, then we were able to talk about it. And the trigger was at another time in her life when someone had said something very close to that in a sarcastic way, and how it had really hurt her. And so a trigger shows you past pain that you have wrapped emotion around. And that's
why we can actually thank. That's why we can thank the people that trigger us, because it's actually taking you on a journey of self-discovery to where in my past did I get triggered from that, and it helps us on that road of self-discovery. It's really powerful. It's like whenever even even like in traffic, those times when people are high stress
We all laugh.
or whatever, like,
Yeah.
and, I'm the type that, if I cut someone off and they get really pissed off and they're flipping me off and stuff, I will smile as big as I can and wave at them like they're a friend I haven't seen in forever.
Yeah, I do that.
And, and it usually just throws people for a loop.
Yep.
and whenever, and I always think, it's like you've never cut someone off before, or you've never, broke a law or something, like so when people cut me off, I'm like, I'll watch that, like the initial kind of like anger come up a little bit and be like, oh, that's interesting. I can almost like witness my own emotions, and from that seat of consciousness, that eye of the storm, and be, wow, that's really interesting. I wonder how I was able to get triggered from that. Like, where am I harboring some anger or resentment from the past that's showing up right now in this situation?
Yeah. And
absolutely.
So then the question would be also, like, if let's say you recognize a trigger, that someone's triggering you in some way, and you acknowledge that trigger, what is the best way to go about it? I mean, would you acknowledge that trigger within yourself? Would you have a conversation with that person, or would you acknowledge it within yourself? And if that person keeps triggering you, because my whole thing is I would release the person. I'm like, cool, I see these triggers and they're triggering me a lot. I'm seeing what it's bringing up in me, but like, I don't want them in my life anymore. I'm done. And I like, goodbye. Would you recommend like having a conversation with that person around the triggers, or just like, not allowing it in your life? What do you think, both of you, what do you think is better, or does it depend on the situation?
To me, it kind of depends on the
Jeanie.
situation. When I'm in my car and I'm triggered, first of all, I get curious. Oh, isn't that interesting? Where did that come from? Definitely make a note to do a write and burn on it. Or ask, why did I feel whatever I felt? Because. And then the other thing I do is I will have a conversation with the person in my car, and I will return whatever they threw at me with love and light. And I say, hey, thank you so much, for noticing me. And, that was with anger or whatever you want to call it, the one-fingered wave. Thank you for noticing me. I appreciate it. And I return your wave to you with love and light. And I'll say that in my car, or,
Yeah.
So that's
or,
kind of
hey,
how
what
I
did you have for lunch?
Exactly. Lay off the tacos. I don't know. Something. No more spicy food for you.
No more spicy food for you. Sorry, I had to say that. So wrong. Okay, guys. Well, what if it's someone
if it's a close friend for me, then I think it's usually worth a conversation. If it's someone that, if it's someone that I don't really feel like I need in my life, then there's usually not a conversation necessary. I can kind of use that as thank you for showing me where there's some emotions that are unsettled in myself, and then move on from there. If you hang out with those that trigger you most, boy, you're on a fast track to self-growth.
True that.
Absolutely. Thank you for triggering me. Now I know what to work on. I love you.
So what if you come across that triggering person in the workplace? What if your boss is constantly triggering you over and over again? What would be some good ways to navigate through that besides quitting your job?
I think exactly what he was saying. Look at it with curiosity and a chance to grow. Because it's not what he's saying. It's not what people say to you. It's how you react to what people say to you.
So true.
It's what it means to you. Nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it. And in my book, I talk about one of my students, and she was talking about how a person called her the B word. I don't know if I can swear on her.
You can swear. You can swear.
But, we all know what that is, right?
Yes.
And she says, okay, I'm going to try this out, because we had been talking about, she says, okay, that's a female dog, and dogs bark, and there's bark on trees, and I love trees. And so, but she did all this in the matter of just a split second. She looked at the person with a beaming smile. She's like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. that's awesome. The other person was totally blown away because it was not sarcastic. She immediately made that leap and was very grateful. And she comes into my classroom the next day, Jeanie, this works. It was so awesome.
That's so
great.
funny.
That's great.
That's awesome. Oh, I love it. So then, being in like a high stress job, or like, what would you say if your boss is like snapping and rude and like constantly on your case? Would you like spin it around with a question and be like, you know, I've had a great day, have you? Or like, however that is, like, is that what recommendation you would do? Or would you, and if it was like constant every day, or would it be like a sit down conversation? And how do you spark that conversation with someone who's looked upon as a superior than you?
So I know that being in the military, I absolutely know that there is rank, right? There is superior. There's, you know, higher up or whatever. But when I look at all people as equal, and that my boss can hurt just as much as I can hurt. And, you know, if I'm in a job and all of a sudden the boss is getting in my face or upset or angry or whatever, you know, and that's a new situation, then I may ask a few questions or, you know, deflect it or whatever. But if it continues to go on, there's going to be a conversation where I go in when things are calm and I say, hey, do you have a second? I just kind of want to find out what's going on. I've noticed a new behavior and I just want to help. How can I help? You know, now if it's been going on for a very long time and it's just, you know, and you think, well, that's just how that person is, then one thing you could do is just, again, go in and have a conversation with them. Maybe invite them to lunch or, you know, and with stuff that's, you know, going on with the male-female thing, that, you know, there's a lot of issues that can be there. But if you approach it, my opinion, if you approach it with the open door policy that so many companies have, and you just have a conversation and talk to them as, this person is hurting, how can I help?
How do you get over the anxiety or the fear of having that conversation? What tools could you give someone? Because I feel like a lot of people would be nervous, scared, and anxious to have those conversations with this so-called superior.
Absolutely. And the last part of my book, the third part of my book, goes into that in very great detail. But the first thing that you've got to do, it takes you step by step through it, but the first step is triggering yourself with small instances where you get emotional, but it's not, you know, it's not clearly over the top. So for me, I started with water. I almost drowned when I was younger. And so I got to where I could stand in the water and still talk and still think and still process. So that was a you know, I also rock climb and rappel, and I'm afraid of heights. You know, I'm afraid of snakes. And when you can deliver a conversation with someone next to the reptile house at the zoo, you are on. You've trained yourself, you know, to feel that emotion, but still be able to think. You can it's a skill. You can have high emotion and still bring your intelligence up if you train yourself right.
What would be a way to, like, okay, for me, it's funny because I have a fear of heights, yet I had for a TV show back in the day, I jumped off buildings and went skydiving and all these things. And I want to do zip lines, for example, but I will have a literal, like, my brain shuts down and then I think of like every possible thing that could go wrong. And I can't snap out of that stupid like phase unless you just like push me, and then you push me and I'm already going and I'm like, oh, okay, this is fun. You know, like, you know, how do you get out of that, like that brain fart, that like space where you're like, literally your brain shuts down and like everything, like and your body all tenses up, and how would you snap out of that? And that could be for any situation, for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I was working with one of my personal mentoring clients the other day, and she was having this exact same problem. And I said, if you're going to ask the question, what if, and come up with all the negatives, that means you must follow it by what if and add all of the positives.
Ooh.
Because it will help you balance it out. So if you go into what if the zip line breaks, what if the harness breaks, what if, right? Then you've got to go with, well, what if I get on a zip line and I ride the whole thing and I get to see all these birds or the canopy or, the beautiful green mountains, whatever it is. You've got to go to both extremes because in the middle is where most things are. Those extremes are extreme for a reason. They don't happen very often. So if you're asking the question, what if, and going to doomsday, ask the question, what if, and have the time of your life.
I love that. And that could go for anything, whether it's a conversation with someone you may have fear and anxiety about, or these fun activities that you have fears of, whether it's like fear of heights or whatever. I love that. That's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. I was working with one of my other clients, and he'd been at this job for about 8 years, and he had wanted to ask for a raise for about 5 of those years. And I'm like, bud, it's time. And he's like, but what if I get fired? And I said, what if? Go down that path. Go as far as you can with that path. But then ask what if. What if you walk in and you ask for a raise and he says, yeah, how about $2 an hour? And he said, oh, that would be awesome. And I said, you got to go both. And then if you walk in and he says, okay, 50 cents, whatever. But you got to ask. If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
I love that. That's really great too. So, okay. Spinning it around to what's happening, and I don't want to go too much into this, but it is happening now in the workplaces or in general with the Me Too movement, especially what's happening in Hollywood. How would you address the situation, whether it's male or female, because it can go both ways? I know a lot of the Me Too focuses on women and what we've gone through, but it also happens to men. So I'm throwing it out there on either side. How would you approach it? Let's say someone is harassing you sexually, and it's pretty insane of the situation you may get into. What tools could you offer to spin out of that situation? Like if someone's coming on you and you're like, stop, and they're just doing it anyway, do you have any tools or a way to NLP it so it spins back around and you can get out of it quicker or address it?
Yeah, so there's so many levels and layers to this. And your phone lines are going to probably light up. But typically what happens is both people want something from the situation. Somebody wants a job or they want a promotion or whatever, and the other person has the power. That's the only way that harassment can happen, right?
Okay.
It's the one person, they both want something and are afraid of losing it. I'm going to share a story. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
Of when I was in the military?
Yes.
So I'm in basic training, Fort Dix, New Jersey, and I'd been there probably about 6 to 7 weeks. Basic training's 8 weeks. So we're getting close to the end, which means we have a little bit more freedom. And I'm in the day room doing my laundry, and I'm in there all alone. And as I'm in there doing my laundry, our senior drill sergeant walks in nothing but a towel. And he was a good-looking guy.
I was going to say, was he? I'm teasing.
He's a good-looking guy, right? Right up until he opened his mouth. And he says, Private Cisco, I bet you'd love to rip this towel off of me.
Oh.
And I said, Drill Sergeant, permission to speak freely. And he said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, I think you're pathetic.
Ooh.
I said, I think the fact that you are preying on young girls who haven't seen their boyfriend or even the women who haven't seen their husband for weeks says that your ego is pretty hurt and damaged for you to need to come in here and ask me that question. And I said, I think it's sad. I'm sorry. I hope you find something. I was talking as he turned around and walked out, and we never had another problem. And I looked back on that incident later, and I thought, okay, when the Me Too movement first started happening and all the things that were happening, I thought, okay, why did I handle it differently? First of all, I didn't want anything at all from him. But second of all, I didn't stop and think, well, could I get in trouble? I mean, I'm in basic training. I'm already low crawling and doing KP and, and so I didn't think of the ramifications. I just thought of who am I and what do I do? And I absolutely had 100% belief in me and that what he was doing was wrong. And I just said, and I spoke my mind. And so the question you ask yourself is, if you're being harassed at work, you take that to your HR, you take that to whoever you need to take it to. Take it to the police, take it to a coworker. The problem is when you stay silent because you're afraid, or you're not sure how it will be received, or, well, what are people going to think of me?
Yeah.
I don't know. Find out. But speak up. Don't wait 10, 20, 30 years.
Thank you for saying this, because I've had definitely situations of myself where this has happened. And one situation, I didn't want anything. Like, it wasn't anything. It was a roommate at the time who just walked into my room, and it was a very odd situation. And I was able to get my way out of it, but it was very awkward and very weird. And I didn't know how to handle it, but I was afraid of coming across. I think of the ramifications. I think if I say my piece, will this turn into like some anger thing where like I'm not allowed out of my room and I'm like forced in my room? Like, I think of like every possibility there could be. And so I just was very docile in it, and I found other ways to like get out of my room. But it was like, but how do you get out of your head in that situation to like, be in your power in that sense? Because I maybe that comes back to not being scared of your power and what comes with it.
Yeah, and it comes back to belief in self. That's the foundation. And in my book, there's a pyramid, and the foundation is personal value, my belief in self. If I believe that my wants, my desires, my dreams, my hopes, my fears are just as important as the person standing in front of me, I will be in my power, because I'm just as important as they are. The problem crops up when I give them more power, when I give their desire more power than mine.
Okay. Yep. And then exactly. And then you're not integrity. And then you feel guilty and shameful and like, what is going on? Yep. Been there. Get it. Totally get it. Thank you for that. Wow. This has been like such a powerful interview. Like, you're amazing. Do you teach classes on this?
I do. I absolutely do. And we do trainings all across the states. Now we have our international as well. We have live trainings. We go into businesses. We go into schools and colleges. And if it's okay, I have set up a special website for your listeners where they can go get a free copy of my book.
Yes.
And I will autograph it for them. It just launched earlier today. We had some bugs last week. We weren't sure if we were going to make it, but we made it. And so if you go to bullyproofingyoubook.com, you can get a free copy of my book. I'll autograph it for you and get it right out to you. And kind of my way of saying thanks. And there's so many valuable tools in there that can help you and go more in depth than what we've been talking about.
I really love this. So are you going to be anywhere near California anytime soon?
I don't have anything on the books, but I would love to.
We should talk.
Absolutely love to.
I would love it. This has
I'll
let
you know when we come back. Yeah.
Please. It's been
if any of your listeners, need some training, let me know. We'd love to come and help, because it's needed. It's so needed.
Especially now. And I know this has been a big, heavy topic for many people these days everywhere, but especially in California, with especially what's going on with entertainment, and it's showing up, all around. And it's definitely been a big topic in our little circle in San Diego, but as well as my friends in LA. So this would be huge to have you out here. I would sign up instantly. Like, I'm already like a huge fan. Like, yes, I need this. This sounds great. I want to sign up. So yes, go to bullyproofingyoubook.com, and I'll also put that link up for a free autograph book by Jeanie. This has been so wonderful. And they can find you on, what is your personal website?
Cisco-Meth.com. It's computers and drugs, but it's just my last name, not my drug of choice. But it's an easy way to remember how to spell it.
Oh my goodness. I will also post that.
Jeanie, you are awesome.
Yes.
We're so happy to have you on and to get to share your knowledge. It's incredible. What a great discussion.
Oh, thank you.
Such a joy having you on.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And this has been definitely a very amazing show, very enlightening, and I love it. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And guys, We are out of time. Thank you so much for joining. And next week we have Mas Sajetti coming on the show. That's Thursday, November 15th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And you guys can follow us on soulsexypodcast.com. You can go to LA Talk Radio to get this download or on the app. It'll be up in just a little bit and to hear future episodes. And you can follow me on Instagram at Real Bridgetta. And Charles, go for yours.
Yeah, check me out on greatestyou.com. That's the letter U. And we'll see you next week with Moss on the show. It's going to be a good one. Look forward to seeing you guys then.
Awesome. Have a great week, you guys. And remember, Soul Sexy, where your truth is sexy. Bye, guys.
That's right.
That's right.
Much love.
Much love. Peace out.